A few years ago, I covered a mod known as the Medieval Origins mod. It added in about 20-ish new origins to Minecraft Origins, but a few of them are a bit broken at this point in time, as well as the mod itself has long been since abandoned by the original creator. Today, we're going to be covering the Medieval Origins Revival mod, a mod created that was inspired by the original Medieval Origins mod to take those origins, revamp them into something new, and take them in a whole new direction, and also they're no longer broken. This is also compatible with various different mods, though one thing to note, for the Valkyrie mod in particular, you will need to have the Icarus mob, the mod that adds in a bunch of additional wings that you can equip in your trinket slots. Yeah, there's a bunch of other mods compatible here. It's a whole mess. Ultimately, we're not going to talk too much about those individual mods unless it particularly comes up with the origin itself, but without further ado, let's get into the origins. Starting off with our single impact origins, we have the Wood Elf. The notable changes listed here are range bonuses and speed, with stealthy and being vegetarian as one of the little middle things, as well as your disadvantages is that you'll deal less melee damage and you'll have less defense. Wood Elves are a wise, long-lived race who live in harmony with the earth. They are quick with a sword and bow and can outwit their enemies whilst among the trees. Natural Archer. Wood Elves spend their whole lives training with bows. Their arrows are always more deadly. With the classic Husk test, as you can see when we're charging up our bow, we get a new little power bar starting to charge up. Release a full thing, we get a glow, we get various other bits, and either way, the husk dies with a normal wooden bow, which isn't exactly normal. If we ramp this up and get ourselves an iron golem from a little further away range, we let this charge all the way up, and bam! We managed to do one level of crack, and as well as he's glowing for the time being. Don't know how long he glows for, we'll see. We charge up our next shot, and there's the glow gone. We shoot again. He's got a second level of crack. Then we roll up to another charge, and we shoot again, and that kills the Iron Golem. 3 bow shots into the Iron Golem kills it with this origin, which is kind of cool. What if we don't go for full... let the whole thing charge? Yeah. As you can see, without letting the bar charge up to full, we do deal considerably less damage. Forest Vision. While in tall shrubbery or leaves, Wood Elves can crouch to gain night vision and become undetectable to nearby mobs. As you see underneath the tree here, we can hold shift and suddenly we have night vision. We move away, we lose it though. So it's inside of actual bits of grass itself. I'm not 100% sure. Seems to be when we're in between a set of shrubs. As you can see, we move between these sets here, but if we move too far into the center of this shrub, we're no longer close to these two, which gets rid of our glow. And if we go to survival mode and sit here whilst holding shift, the skeleton and the zombie doesn't detect us currently. And you know what, a little thing here is when zombies touch you, they can always detect you. If we let go of shift for a moment and then hold it again, we disappear. Focus. After charging for a few seconds, release an arrow at increased velocity, piercing enemies, flying further, and dealing even more damage. That was the ability we were seeing before. Whenever we were charging up a bow, let's go grab one. Whenever we were charging up a bow, you see this little bar slowly charge up. Once it hits full charge, you can then release your arrow and it will deal a lot more damage. It will potentially pierce through enemies and, well, all the other fun stuff that comes with just dealing a lot more damage with your bow. Eagle-Eyed. Wood Elves can track an enemy for a short time after damaging them, even when they aren't in view. That is the glowing effect that we see whenever we hit a mob. Towering. Wood Elves are slightly taller than the average human. By the distortion of our skin, we are slightly taller than expected. We're about as wide as what you'd usually be as a normal player though, which is why the distortion of the skin is so large. You will have to shift in order to get underneath a 2-block gap, I believe. We can just double check that over here. Oh no, you can still fit underneath a 2-block gap. Though it looks very funny and very weird when doing it. No, you can no longer crouch to get underneath a 1.5 block gap. So you can still walk through 2 blocks high rooms and all that with no problems. You just won't be able to get underneath a slab that's there as well. Stelwood. Wood Elves live off of and in harmony the forest. Okay, it's not me who's being dyslexic. This is actually just a weird sentence. What else live off and in harmony with the forest? They cannot Okay, what else cannot have meat? I'm not even going to keep trying. As you see with the tooltip here, it just says that anything meat-based is inevitable. We can have cake and cookies, inedible. Elegant, what else have less health and are slowed by wearing armor? This can be prevented with an enchantment. So we flip back to survival mode. As you can see, we have got 7 total hearts rather than the 10 total hearts. Graceful, what else are not as powerful, but they are quick. Your attacks deal reduced damage, but are slightly faster. As we can see with our little creeper friend over here, which will probably kill us when I try this. Or not, I can just back away and be fine. Let's grab this guy here. As you can see, we're not going to do as much damage as we usually do, but the attacks are recharging at a pretty fast rate, so we can get full damage attacks at a far more consistent interval. Again, though, you're not dealing as much damage as you usually would without that debuff. Next, we have the Alfiq. I hope I'm saying that right. With the notable changes of having an arm bonus, a unique movement, you're a carnival, but you have less defense. Alfiq are a cunning species of anthropomorphic felines with sharp claws and excellent agility. Their roads often lead to warm sands. Clawed, Alfiq have razor-sharp, retractable claws. They deal extra damage with empty paws and can climb up and cling to steep surfaces. Can be toggled. Toggle of Y, which is my secondary key. There is no noticeable sound or indication that you've switched modes, but you'll be able to tell that you have by the fact that you can climb walls like they are ladders. Pretty cool, pretty neat. Grab ourselves our friendly neighborhood husk again, and we just whack him with our bare hands. And you can see that is a fair bit notable amount of damage increase. If we flick Y off, is there a noticeable 3, 4? There's still 4 hits there, but if we have something on our hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah. I mean, there's, even though not all of those hits were crits, the fact that there was almost 20 different hits, a good chunk of them were crits versus the 4 crit hits that were just killed the husk when we had bare hands, it says a lot. And that's an added little bit of fun with managing having an empty slot in your hotbar of all times. Poor grip. Alfiq have reduced breaking speed with tools and reduced damage with handled weapons like swords and axes. The differences in damage is definitely there, slightly. The weapons will do a little less damage than what they usually would be, but when it comes to a Neverite versus your bare hands, a Neverite sword seems like it will be the overall best damage order, because even with non-critical hits, you deal a little more damage with the Neverite sword, as we managed to kill the husk with 4 hits that weren't critical versus 5 hits with our bare hands. Of course, the other noticeable thing of this is that your mining speed is slower. Agile preference. Alfiq prefers to wear only light armors for ease of movement. Heavier armors can be worn without a penalty with an enchantment. I don't know what this enchantment is, but they seem to all like it. And you see, if we move at a pretty reasonable speed, we throw on light armor, no problems. But we swap to a diamond helmet, you can see that speed decrease immediately. And it gets even worse when we swap to 2 pieces of diamond armor. It gets even worse with a 3rd piece. And, well, we slow down to a literal crawl with a 4th piece. Wow, that is much more noticeable than what it was for the Wood Elves. The Wood Elves seems to only get affected by 2 pieces of armor at the max, and it doesn't really do too much more there. But you have a full set of armor. Yeah, 10% negative speed per piece of armor. That is wild. On your feet, if looking straight down while landing, you'll take no damage at all. We got a fun little tree here that is quite nice and high. So we will look forward, we take full damage. But if we go back up here again, and we just fall while looking down, we take no fall damage. Doesn't matter how high we go, we can go all the way up to the point where we can't see this anymore. That's good enough to demonstrate purposes. As long as we're looking straight down, we take no damage. Crepuscular. Near sunset and sunrise, Alfiq will move and attack much more quickly. At other times, they are lethargic and slightly slower. As you can see currently, this is our normal speed that you'll see most of the time. This is a slightly slower, an attack slightly slower, you know, the things that ability just told us before. So as you can see with the sun setting here, we have got significantly increased speed, and we can attack at such a rapid pace. Wow, I don't think I was even seeing a recharge on the... Yeah, like your cooldown of attacks at this point in time is almost non-existent when you're using your bare hands. But this will only happen at times of sunset and sunrise. So only in these small windows of time, I'd say probably about 2 to 3 minutes, is when you'll be affected by this. Yep, as you can see, the sun's now completely gone. We've gone back to our normal speed. Pickpocket. Right-click the back of a villager while crouching with empty paws for a chance to steal some emeralds, or get caught. Rumor has it you may be able to steal from other players. Let me test the other players thing here, but if we locate ourselves a village... Oh! If you fail to pickpocket, it will hit. And also, a side note, if you use the pickpocket ability too many times in succession, the game will just fully crash. Fortunately, it doesn't look like that bricked the world in any way, but that is definitely something to keep in mind. I don't know exactly what caused that, but hey, that just happened. Pounce. After briefly crouching to charge up, Alfiq can leap forward a great distance. Striking an enemy during the pounce deals bonus damage. So that was obviously the other thing before. There's a cooldown. You hold crouch and watch it charge up to the full extent, and then you press spacebar and you'll jump a fair bit. I don't know how much increased damage that does. There looks like there's no crack on the golem though. So I'm going to be completely honest, the damaging part of the pounce, I don't know how useful that's going to be, especially considering how, like, you can either jump up a very little or jump up high like this and get a lot further. It's very inconsistent how the pounce seems to function. No, that's a lie. It is somewhat consistent, but going for hits with the pounce is going to be a lot more difficult, and I don't know if it's worth it for whatever additional damage it is. Carnivore, your diet is restricted to meat. You can't eat vegetables. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. You'll hop over to the food tab here. As you can see, any form of vegetable-based food is inedible, but you can eat all forms of meat. This also includes breads and cookies, and cakes are immune as always. A velvet paws. Your footsteps don't cause any vibrations, which could be picked up by other life forms nearby. You don't make noises when walking around. Jumping will still make noises, by the way. Walking over the skull sensor will also make noises, so keep that in mind. And a meow button. It's very quiet, but you got a meow button. Next we have the Goblin. Notable changes of gold gear bonuses, luck and speed, but you're small, as well as your health and defense are less. Golems are obsessed with gold and treasure and tend to find a little more loot wherever they look, but their small size leaves them vulnerable in combat. Greedy. Golems have a special relationship with treasure. They gain extra bonuses when using or wearing golden gear. What are those bonuses, you might be asking? It's 2 more max health and increased durability per armor piece, but you also get a set bonus of 20% resistance. A golden sword does 50% more damage than usual, as well as a chance to increase the mob loot, so I'd assume something around looting 1, maybe looting 2. Golden axe will give you +1 reach, as well as iron plus mining level, which is weird for an axe. Shovel is +1 reach. That seems to be consistent across all things. You can mine iron with all the different tools of gold variety. You have 6 hearts by default. This is just purely because I want to show off what this effect will do. When you equip a full set of iron armor, you have a full set of 10 hearts, like a normal player would. Careful Hoarder. Gold in a goblin hands lasts much longer than most others who are careless with it. We grab ourselves a shovel and we can display this by just whacking one piece here. we've got 32 durability. With the 32 durability points that a golden shovel usually have, you're able to get 3 times more usage out of it, give or take. So about unbreaking 3 levels by the feels of that, which is also considering the fact that you can still add unbreaking onto these tools to make that last even longer. Nimble. Although short, goblins are quite fast, allowing them to outrun most strong enemies instead of fighting. I mean, as we see already, you're short, very short, like less than a block tall short, but you are also quite fast on your feet, so you're able to escape out of most situations. Skeleton goblins are very short and less half the height than human, said that already. Frail due to their small stature, goblins have less health and are more prone to damage. They have 6 hearts by default. Jumping into our 2 impact origins, we start off with the Arcane. Notable changes of, you got poison and crowd control, you got wall climbing, you're a carnival, but you have worse hunger and worse armor. Don't know what that means. A grotesque amalgamation of spider and human, with venomous fangs and bristled feet, yet the ability to walk upright and wield weaponry. Climber. The fine bristles on the Arcane's legs allow them to climb up walls. Press Y to toggle wall climb. As you can see, we can climb up the villager house and get to the top. As it's like all other climbing abilities, you can treat walls as if they had ladders, and again you can also toggle it so you don't climb things, though that seems to toggle other abilities at the same time. We'll get to those. Many eyes. The Arachnae's 8 eyes are all adapted to darkness and allow them to see clearly even with very little light. So along with your climbing ability, you toggle a night vision based effect. You can't see it too much now because we're kind of in that weird time frame where it's not quite night, but it's not quite day. But if we roll to nighttime, as you can see pretty well. We've turned off our dark eyes, so lighting goes back to what is usual. A venomous bite. Arachnae's fangs contain venom, and every attack has a chance to inflict poison. And you see the little iron golem here. 1 hit. Oh, we successfully hit poison. Oh, I see. That's a long-lasting poison. And the poison stopped. Okay, so not every hit will be guaranteed poison, but you'll know that you'd be able to poison them or not if that white bar is charging. If the white bar is not charging, your next hit has the possibility of giving poison. Seems to be like a pretty high odds. All in all, Web Slinger. Arcane can command spin webs in which their opponents will be immobilized for a short while. It's stuck in cobwebs. For a little bit. Bottomless stomach. Arcane requires a larger quantity of food to stay alive. Reroll over here. As you can see with apple skin, we've got half a chunk of saturation left. So let's run through it. Saturation's always more annoying to get rid of. But as you can see, now that our saturation's gone, we're going to see that our hunger starts to deplete at a pretty decent rate. It's not rapid fast, but it's definitely faster than what you'd used to be expecting when it comes to hunger. Brittle! The Arachnae's chicherous exoskeleton makes it difficult to move if wearing armor heavier than iron. This can be prevented with an enchantment, possibly the featherweight enchantment. Not sure, and I don't think it matters enough to test it. As you can see, you can use leather, chainmail, iron, and gold armor, no qualms. But if you put on a diamond helmet, you'll get 10% less speed per piece of diamond armor. Same with netherite armor as well. Fragile. Your exoskeleton's more vulnerable to damage. They have slightly less health than a regular human. As we flick over before, you've got 7 hearts rather than 10, so you have 14 hit points instead of 20. Carnivore, your diet is restricted to meat. You can't eat vegetables. Same as before. Master of Webs, you navigate cobweb perfectly and are able to climb them. When you hit an enemy in melee, they get stuck in cobweb for a while. Non-arthropods stuck in cobweb will be sensed by you. You're able to craft cobweb from strings. Okay, so the web sling is when by pressing G, you will put a bunch of mobs around you in webs and they'll glow. No, they'll just get put in webs. When a mob gets put into webs, they will glow for you to be able to see them, except for spiders. Spiders don't matter. You're also able to craft webs by hand by using 2 bits of string, and then you can make some web, which is pretty neat for a little bit. But you hit them again, they'll still be in the cobweb, and this goes on for as long as the ability is active. Yeah, as long as your ability is active, they have a chance of being inflicted into cobwebs, which is kind of interesting. Next we have the Incubus. Notable changes, you get never bonuses, but it's fire-based, you're damaged by water, and you're weak in the overworld. Incubi are evil servants of the dark power Incubi are evil servants of a dark power. They are powerful in their own realm, but in exchange for this, they have given up their soul and are weak to pure sources. Boop. Demon Fire. Incubi are innately more potent with all fire magics and can release a burst of flames at will. Scales with fire spell power. Activate ability using Y. Oh. It has a bit decent range. Okay, it has a long range. Doesn't seem like it does an amazing amount of damage. Hellborn. Fire feels like home. It deals no damage to them, to Incubi, and satiates them. With our hunger decreased. Oh my. So not only do you get your health back to full, you also get max hunger and max saturation at a near instant in lava. Wowzers, that's kinda nuts. Carnivore. An Incubus's bloodlust is insatiable. If it isn't to flesh of an animal, it's worthless. Same as always, you know the deal by now. Unholy Deal. An Incubus can exchange some of their life force for raw power for a short time, triggered with a primary active hotkey. So we do that, and then that. Don't know if I'm doing a significant amount of extra damage than usual. Hydrophobe. Water scouts Incubi, damaging them on contact. You see, that's how it's meant to work, but it doesn't seem to do so. Doesn't seem like rain affects you either, which is quite an interesting quirk, but Impure Incubi take extra damage from smite and reverted effects from healing and harming, same as what zombies do. Healing will hurt you and harming will heal you. Kind of funny. Realm Advantage. Incubi are not accustomed to dimensions where the sun shines and are weaker there, but they are considerably stronger in the Nether. So in the overworld, as you can see, we've got 7 hearts, and I assume if we flick over to the Nether dimension, we now have, holy shit, 2 sets of health bars. That's 20 hearts, 40 health points. Also, this Nether portal put us right on top of a bastion. That's kind of funny. Wow. You also seem to do significant more amount of damage with your fire than what is usual. Never Inhabitant, your natural spawn will be in the Nether. We break this bed and then we die again. As you can see, we're now in the Nether dimension. Somewhere random, I have no idea where we are anymore. But we're somewhere. And I can just fall right in the lava and not care. That's kinda cool. Next we have the Dwarf. Notable changes: mining, caving, you're shorter, sun sensitive, and can't swim. Dwarves are practical, stocky, and prideful. They excel at mining and living underground, but struggle with the daylight, rock, and stone brother. Dwarven tech. Dwarves are capable of mining stone without a pickaxe and mine anything faster than others. Now first off, yeah, if we rolled survival mode, as you can see, you can mine stone with your bare hands at a pretty reasonable speed, and as you break it, you get the cobblestone piece. Pretty neat. It also works to just increasing your general mining speed, making stone pickaxes actually somewhat viable again because, well, you mine at a pretty reasonable speed. You don't need to go to an iron one. Outside of diamonds and stuff along those lines. Stocky. Dwarves are just short enough to fit in a 1 meter tall tunnel and almost as wide as one. I mean, self-explanatory. Look at how little I am. Wow, you are really distorted. Because you're still about as wide as a normal Minecraft character, but you've just been shrunken down to fit into a 1 block size tunnel, which is kind of funky and actually leads to some really wacky clipping. Nocturnal Eyes. Dwarves can focus to see clearly without needing a light source. You can toggle this with Y. Basically, toggleable night vision, not much more about it. Darkness Dweller. Direct sunlight will burn the Dwarven's eyes, blind them temporarily, preventable with an enchantment or a golden helmet. This is an effect that will only affect you when you're not undercover of anything. As you can see, we get blindness and we also get nausea, which is a permanent effect until we get back undercover, which then will pretty much disappear immediately. But as stated, If you use a golden helmet, as you can see, it no longer affects you under the sun. Dense. Dwarves are extremely heavy for their size and they sink rapidly in water. Like, relative to our size, we sink quite fast. And you can float around, fortunately. This isn't like an anti-floating thing. We can tell by the bobbing happening here, by me holding spacebar, that you are sinking a lot quicker, as it's more common to fall back on the water a fair bit than what you would usually expect with a normal player. Potion Brew. Dwarves are notorious for their powerful drinks which would knock out someone twice their size. Activate to take a swig and fully restore health. G-powered ability. We go back into survival mode over here and we make friends with the drowned over here and get love tabs. With 2 hearts left on our health bar, we'll press G and we'll quickly regenerate right back to full health. Oh my, that's actually really powerful. Though it looks like the cooldown on this is pretty long based upon that cooldown bar. Next is High Elf. Notable changes: you have magic and unique abilities, you have less physical damage, and you also have less defense. High Elves are notoriously arrogant, though undeniably talented. Elemental magic courses strongly through their blood, though they are weaker with weaponry. Draw Essence. By holding different items, High Elves can channel the object's energy to unleash various magics. Hover over each box to see the details. Glacial Step. Hold an ice block to manipulate the entropy of water molecules, allowing you to walk as if you had Frost Walker. Extrusive movement. Holding obsidian to channel the flow of heat and walk freely on smoldering lava. Instant Cure. Right-click a villager with a golden apple to directly channel its healing energy without needing to weaken them. Avoid War. Press G whilst holding an ender pearl to rip through the fabric of reality and teleport yourself directly where you're looking up to 50 blocks away. Blazing Breath. Press G whilst holding coal in either hand to shoot forth a weak cone of flame. Hold Blaze Powder instead to shoot forth a moderate cone of flame. Scales with fire spell power. Ebon Breath. Press G whilst holding Bottled Dragon's Breath in either hand to shoot forth a cone of strong magical flame. Scales with fire and arcane ender spell power. Again, the spell power stuff is just other mod shenanigans. That's its compatibility stuff we won't talk about. So let's run through this, right? As you see here, when holding an ice block, you walk over the top of water. It's pretty much Frost Walker, but you don't actually make any ice anywhere. You just kind of walk atop of it. The moment I switch off the ice, I immediately start sinking, but you can just put it back on and you can start walking as if you have Frost Walker. Roll into the Nether Dimension with our obsidian block. We can walk on top of lava as if it was nothing. Pretty neat, actually. Though, keep in mind, if you're holding this when you jump into lava, as you probably would have noticed, you do take full damage from lava, which is quite a funny quirk. As you can see, there's a zombie villager here. We can just immediately right-click him to cure him immediately. No need for a weakness potion, and you also don't need to wait any time frame, it just immediately cures him. And the pearl, I can press G and teleport up to a handful of blocks away, which is also pretty neat. You can consume a coal block if it will activate to shoot a line of fire. Though from what I can tell here, you need to actively be able to select a target, so look at something directly to be able to shoot it. You can't just shoot it randomly. Same fault of a blaze powder, but it's a slightly more potent amount of fire damage. And then following with the Dragon's Breath, it is basically the fire again, but this time soul fire, so it does a fair bit more damage. Again, consumes the item. Mystical Affinity. High Elves are powerful and clever manipulators of arcane energy. They can deal more magic damage and take less magic damage than other races. For those of you who don't understand what magic damage means in the context of Minecraft, it mostly means just any form of potion-based damage. So stuff from witches and things along those lines. There is also a huge variety of other damage sources that I can't actually remember off the top of my head, but there's not really that many major things. I think it might also be spiders and stuff along those lines. It's the non-normal physical base damage. It's more spell variety damage, like instant damaging potions, poison potions, and things along those lines. Fragile. High Elf is not built for hand-to-hand combat. They are much more susceptible to physical damage and have less health. As you can see, we have 8 total hearts, and as you saw with the fall damage before, we lost half our health from roughly around 5, 6, 7 blocks of a fall. And so everything just deals overall more damage towards you, so you just got to be aware of that. Towering. High Elves are slender and slightly taller than the average human. As you can see by the weird distortion of me, I am a little skinnier than the average player, but also we are just slightly taller than 1 full block. Than 2 full blocks. We can crouch and be below that 2 block range, but I don't think I think this follows suit with all the other stuff. If we grab a slab real quick. Yeah, you can't go in under a slab, which is pretty neat. Elegant. High elves are slowed by wearing heavy armor. This can be prevented with an enchantment and have less health. Don't know why it's repeated the less health part twice, but hey ho, there it is. Same as the other origins so far in this collection, it just is a 10% speed negation per armor piece that's heavy, meaning that an overall 40% reduction in speed if you're wearing a full set of diamond or netherite gear or mix between them. It again doesn't affect iron, gold, or turtle shell based armors. All the other armors perfectly fine. Fae. Notable changes. Hovering, magic, just shorter. You're loved by mobs and you have less defense. Fae is short, magical winged humanoids, regarded as spirits of nature and said to haunt forests and lead travelers astray. They are equal parts mystic and trickster. Levitation. Faes are light, winged creatures who can float effortlessly in the air. Press the primary active key to hover upward. Go to survival here and we'll press the hover key. Oh, you get levitation for a long period of time. And you can turn it off at any time. Magical resistance. As magical creatures themselves, Fae take the less damage, magic damage compared to other creatures. As I said before, this is basically potions and lightning, fire, just non-physical based damage stuff. And then also whatever gets added in by various mods. Regeneration. Fae can channel magical energy and heal themselves quickly at the cost of hunger. We've got low health, we've got a fair bit of hunger. We press right, we can convert that hunger into health. You can only do so much at a time by the looks of it, and it also has a bit of a cooldown. Allure. Fae are naturally alluring. Mobs will pursue them from much further away than they would other creatures. This is pretty self-explanatory. You probably would notice that with Minecraft, you can stay a certain distance away from hostile mobs and they won't chase after you. Unfortunately, that's different with the Fae. They're more likely to see you from a lot further away and they'll chase you down to the ends of the earth more often than what they already do. Diminutive. Fae are fairly short, most barely being taller than the average goblin. And you see, we go next to this 1x1 block here, we are just marginally taller than 1 block. We can crash to be underneath a block, and I believe it's like 1.5 blocks, not even, give or take. Magical suppression. Iron and silver inhibit Fae's powers. It is unbearable for them to wear it. You see the tooltip here, it says unwearable, and if we right click on the armor chest plate, so we got nothing on, right-clicking does nothing. We can drag it over here and try to click it on, but again, it does nothing. You can't wear any iron-based armor. Pixie, notable changes. You got unique flight. You're odd. Don't know why that's green. You're tiny. You also have less defense, and you've got worse reputation. Often considered harbingers of good fortune, but also tricky, untrustworthy agents of mischief, pixies are whimsical and very, very small. Bop. Oh wow, we've gotten even smaller. On the dust, pixies can fly and propel themselves forward and upward. Read the boxes next to the powered for instructions on how to fly. Pixie jumps are 2 blocks high. They can also fly, which uses up flight power. Flight power only regenerates whilst on the ground. Hover. Quickly press space twice to begin hovering. A slow creative flight and slowly drains flight power. If your flight power runs out completely, you'll stop hovering. Glide. Press space in the air to glide gently using your wings. It uses no flight power. Dash. Press left control twice to quickly dash forward. This uses 50 flight power if gliding and 25 otherwise. Dash up. Quickly press left control then space to dash upwards. Press X while sneaking to disable sounds and particle effects. Jump up 2 blocks high. I don't know if you can hear it, but every time you jump, you get some sounds, and you also get some particle effects. And you see we got some slow creative flight, which is slowly burning through our thing. You also get some music playing along. This is such a neat little detail. And of course, you can glide like an elytra. This doesn't use any flight power. So, double press... I need to wait for this to cool back up. This is such a little cool thing. I actually adore the little sound effects here. Reminds me of mini metros. But if you double press control, you'll get a dash. But you press control and space, you'll get a dash upwards. And then of course you have creative flight. That consumes your power, but eventually you'll run out and fall back to the ground. Feather-footed, pixies are so light it's impossible to take fall damage, pretty useful thing. Shortcut, you can sit on top of another player's head by right-clicking them with empty hands. I can't show that here, but that's pretty self-explanatory. Good fortunes, although pixies can be troublesome, they are also associated with good luck. When mining, they'll occasionally get something valuable from plain stone. Okay, there we are. So roughly around 60 blocks of stone later, we randomly get 6 redstone dust. That's basically what it means. Randomly, randomly, you'll mine stone and get some random bonus piece of valuable gear, valuable items. So it could be some redstone, could be coal, could be iron, could be gold, could be diamonds. It is pretty low odds of getting anything at all, as well as I'm assuming there'd be a decent sized pool for what you actually get. Mischief maketh the man. Pixies are capable of performing numerous mischief acts, which, if not always dangerous, are certainly allowed. Activate the ability with Y. Before you go back up to the servers here, we press Y. Just casual explosion. Doesn't do anything, but explosion. Loud noise. Haha, funny. Troublemaker. Villagers know pixies by the legends of trouble they cause and will refuse to trade with them. Self-explanatory, you can't trade with villagers. Not much more to it than that. Sirens. Notable changes, water-based utility, weaker on land, and also vulnerable to fire. Sirens are said to be a type of merfolk. They have an ensnaring aura, and their irresistible beauty is said to be the downfall of a many foolish sailor. Amphibious. In water, sirens can breathe and interact normally and see perfectly clearly, and they swim with an increased speed. Rolling over to the water here, we jump in, and as you can see, it's like night vision. It is night vision underwater, and we can swim as normal. And as you're floating, you still mine as you would if you were sitting on the ground normally, or if you had aqua affinity underwater. Siren Song. Activate to overwhelm enemies in a large area, preventing them from harming you for a short time. Does not work on bosses or other players. This is your primary ability. Pretty sure there was like a bajillion drowns over here earlier, but now I cannot see any of them. Oh nope, there's ones over here. Let's move over to them. As you can see, they're now chasing after me. If I press this, they all got love hearts, and they are no longer actually chasing me down currently. We also get some fun music. Oh, it also affects all other mobs. That's so cool. So it affects literally everything outside of players and bosses. And now it's ended. And now they're going to chase me down. Holy water. Sirens have much more quickly regenerating bodies, but only whilst fully submerged. We are still regenerating our health whilst underwater, even though our hunger is depleted enough where you wouldn't usually regen. But if we do surface here, you can see we're no longer regenning. But the moment I do go back fully underwater again, we go back to regenning as normal. Out of your depth. Whilst on land, sirens can only heal or regenerate by using potion. So with this, if I eat a golden carrot here and get max saturation, as you can see, it's not going to consume our saturation in order to heal in any way, shape, or form. But if we eat a golden apple, which gives us regeneration, as you can see, we actually heal there. That's basically the concept of you can only heal via potions or effects that give you healing of some sort or another, or if you jump right back in the water and get chased down by the spiders. See, now we're back in water, our health is back to normal. Flammable, sirens, and fire do not mix well. Any contact with flame will result in a near instant death. So with 2 hearts of absorption, here's some fire. We step in it and we lose 3.5 hearts worth of health. Holy good god, that is a lot of health to lose the moment you touch fire. Like 1 tick of fire will... Yeah, you don't want to stay in fire for any period of time at all, because it will probably kill you. But what if we touch lava? Oh, death. Lava is just death. Like water, when underwater, you do not sink to the ground unless you want to. Basically, it gives you kind of similar physics to creative flight, but underwater. If we go down here now to the water that's over here, as you can see, we sit here and we're kind of slowly sinking, but we can press space to stop ourselves from sinking. You can press shift to swing faster, and yeah, you have a lot of control. As I said, it's like creative flight, but in water. Captivating. Use a secondary active key to gain favor with a villager and receive better items from them. So I gotta quickly do this before our zombies overrun us, but as you hear this villager here, 22 carrots for an emerald, 20 wheat for an emerald, but if we press our little button to gain favor with our friend over here, As you can see, it's now 15 wheat for an emerald or 17 carrots for an emerald. Kind of fun little village of trading. I forgot camels were in Minecraft now. For Valkyrie, notable changes: you have healing, you've got feathered wings, but you're weak to the undead. This is also the origin that requires the Icarus mod, the one that gives you all those wings. Valkyrie are fearless winged warriors who decide the fate of those in battle. They were said to have carried the dead to Odin's Valhalla. Feathered, Valkyries have massive white feathered wings and can fly freely. As you can see, we got big boy wings, eh? Does it show up in our inventory? Not by the looks of things. But if we roll to spectator, creative, and then survival, and you see, we can just fly. That is just a thing we have. It's not an elytra. These are genuine wings. We can fly however we like. To the top of this jungle tree, let's say. Divine Smite. Every third attack, smite nearby foes. Damaging scales with healing / holy spell power. Doesn't look like the smiting effect doesn't really do too much to any mobs nearby. It's a cool effect. Corruption. Nearby undead mobs weaken and slow you, and their attacks deal more damage to you. If we go back over to this swarm of husks that I created earlier to test something, all the 2 that are now there, we come over here. As you can see, we're now immediately significantly slower. And if we go to survival mode, as you can see, they're now doing 1.5 hearts of damage instead of the usual half a heart of damage that they would typically do. Vanquisher. Upon slaying an undead mob, trigger Divine Smite and slightly reduce the effects of corruption for each slain. Lose half stacks on death. Let's go back over to our friend of Husk over here. Let's make a bunch. So if we start... Okay, so the smite is noticeable when you have something that does significantly more damage. So when killing undead enemies, you have the occasional ability to have multiple hits of smite at once. I don't exactly know how you can tell how many stacks you have. There doesn't seem to be any form of indication anywhere. If I swap to... Didn't seem to increase there. I can't quite tell how you know how much stacks you got, but it's something that's there apparently. Intervention. Leap upward into the air or dash forward if already flying, gaining fall immunity until you land. Upon landing, strike the ground with holy energy, cleansing negative effects from nearby allies and healing them. Healing scales with healing and holy spell powers. So, with this ability, we can dash a fair bit. That's a really cool thing. Granted, I can't really show the effects of this. This is more of a multiplayer thing, but you can heal your friends and stuff along those lines with it. And you also get take no fall damage when that's in effect, meaning that you can fly around and just crane into the ground. And it sounds so cool with the Sound for Works design. Heavenly Implements. Valkyrie have innately more healing and holy spell power and are more potent with lance or spear-like weapons. That's obviously to do with mod shenanigans. The Yeti. Notable changes. You're frost-based and you're tanky. You're also large and you also are heat sensitive. Thick furred beasts from frosty woods. A Yeti's dominion over ice allows him to freeze foes, but they are especially vulnerable to fiery attacks. Frigid Pulse. Yeti can entomb nearby foes in ice on command. Does not work in the Nether or on bosses. So, let's grab ourselves our friendly neighborhood husk. We're going to place him down here. We're going to press G. And suddenly, he's in some tub of ice and he's dying. He's freezing to death, most likely. He still lives though, unfortunately for me. But that's okay. We can just knock him off until he dies, which is funny. From whence you came. In icy biomes, Yetis move faster and negate fall damage. Now, you don't spawn in an ice biome by default. That is one thing to keep in mind. But if we go hunt down any form of... Oh, there's also a village here. That's convenient. See, roaming around here, we are significantly faster, and if I do this, you take significantly less fall damage than what you could usually take just in general. Frosty Breath! The Frosty Breath of the Yeti slows any opponents that get close to them. Is that just... Doesn't seem to do anything noticeable. It's not significantly slowed down when it gets near me. Titanic Yetis have far more health than a regular human. As you can see, we consist of having our usual 10 hearts and additional 6 hearts. So you have 16 hearts overall or 32 hit points. Unstoppable. Yetis are immune to the slowness effect. If we go to the effect here, we give me slowness. As you can see, unable to apply as effect, target's either immune to effects or has something stronger. We clearly don't have something stronger, so we're just straight up immune to slowness. Winter bodies. Yetis are marginally taller than a regular human and significantly wider. If we go over to our little thing over here, we can't go... We can go underneath a 2-block high thing, fortunately. As you can see, we are just marginally taller than what an average player would be, but you can tell that we're a fair bit thicker than the average man. You can still fit by in any form of 1-block wide areas, so it's not really it's really just visual for the most part. Flammable. Yetis are susceptible to fire due to their wintry nature. Grab ourselves some flint and steel. We light this on fire, and you don't take anywhere near as much damage as the Siren does, but it is still an increased amount of damage. Rather than half a heart of health you lose every time you tick down damage with fire, you lose a full heart. Wow, I actually died there. Looks like you also stay on fire a fair bit longer than usual too. Thick Thur. In deserts, Thick Thur become a curse and it slows the Yeti's movement and reduces health. See, roam over here, we are significantly slower inside of the desert biome than what we were in the snow biome and what we were in the normal biome, in the jungle biome earlier. Though it looks like the villager has been affected by slowness by being near us. That's hilarious. Moving into the 3 impact origins, we have the Banshee, with notable changes of flight, support, and phasing, with disadvantages of defense and extreme changes as well. Banshees are anguished spirits whose cries can shatter glass and drive people to madness. In myth, their presence is often considered an omen of death. Spectral. Banshees possess the ability to become intangible, moving freely throughout the physical realm whilst being unable to interact with it. This uses tremendous energy and cannot be activated whilst low on hunger. This be your secondary ability. You press it and you can phase through the world. But in doing so, you'll start consuming your health at an extremely fast rate. It seems like it also stops at a certain point. It all seems to be a cooldown thing, but yeah, it's a very interesting ability that was. It's not like the Phantom's phasing ability where you permanently stay phased or unphased until you hit certain hunger points, stuff like that. No, it seems to be an ability you use. You can go through certain things and be untouchable for a little bit, but eventually you do come back to being a physical being. Preemptive Elegy. Banshee shrieks forewarn death. They can unleash the ear-splitting wail, pushing back nearby entities and summoning a small protective circle. Targets hit directly by the shriek will be disorientated. This is your primary ability. If we go over here and we go grab ourselves some husk eggs as normal. With that ability, you just effectively shoo them away from your general direction. And depending on where you are in the world, you might just fling them off a cliff and never see them again. Well, looks like they're all here. They're all alive. That's a shame. Lunar Nexus. Banshees restore no hunger from food. Their energy is only restored by direct moonlight, but however, they cannot starve. So unlike with all the other origins, your hunger cannot be restored by usual means. So you take damage and you burn through all of your hunger regeneration, which is definitely something to keep in mind considering, well, you only have 5 hearts. That is a definite downside to this origin right now. But as you can see here, you cannot eat any food. Well, you can, but it restores no hunger, which is quite an interesting quirk. You can still eat your enchanted golden apples and get the lovely effects the enchanted apples typically give. You just gain no hunger from eating said thing. And then, of course, the same is unfortunately true for the cake. It's no longer immune from changes. You can still consume it, but it, again, doesn't feed any of your hunger. As you can see here, we currently have absolutely no hunger whatsoever, but we don't have to worry about starving to death. But unfortunately, the only way to get hunger back, because you can't just... Oh, wait, the cake is immune! I love that. But yeah, if I eat this food here, as you can see, it doesn't give us any hunger at all. We do get the typical effects from the golden enchanted apple, but we don't get any hunger from eating said thing. You do from cake. That is kind of funny, but I also love the consistency of the cake always being immune from any of these changes. So your core way of restoring your hunger is when it's nighttime. When it's nighttime, as you can see, our hunger now starts slowly restoring itself. It's not exactly a fast process, but it's quick enough that you don't have to worry too much about it. Detriment shackles, magically suppressive metals such as iron or silver, are completely intolerable to banshees. Again, same as what we saw with a previous origin from this pack. Iron armor you cannot wear whatsoever because, well, yeah, it diffuses your magic. It ruins your magic and shenanigans along those lines. Hexed. Banshees are shrouded in curses. Every time they are hit, there's a small chance that the attacker will be consigned to a fate of slow, agonizing death. There it is. He has now been cursed with a hex. And now, he will slowly die. Actually, no, he's still alive, so it has obviously a set time that it goes off for. But it will kill, unlike what poison would. It doesn't seem like it did anything there, but you get the point. In material, banshees have half the health of a living person would have, as noticed before, 5 hearts instead of 10. 10 hit points. Curse Sigil. You deal increased damage whilst wielding a cursed weapon. Whenever you have a weapon that has any form of curse enchantment on it, which is Curse of Vanishing by default with Minecraft, but various other mods will also add curses to enchantments. Good example is Apotheos Enchanting, and you can tell an enchantment is a curse is because it's red text. Red text means you can't remove it via usual means and other things along those lines, and it just means that your deals a bit of extra damage when you're using said weapon. It's not a massive amount, like it's not something you're going to notice on the smaller health pools of mobs, but you might notice it versing Iron Golems, the Wither, or the Ender Dragon, or other high health mobs. Curse Ward, you resist additional damage for each piece of cursed armor worn. Again, same lines as along with the weapons. If you have Curse of Binding on your armor, it will decrease the amount of damage you take. Gorgon. Notable changes: poison damage, as well as immunities to things, and crowd control. You're a hydrophobe, and you also have unique weaknesses. Gorgons are cursed creatures who were once human, with hair made of withering snakes and haunting visage said to petrify those who witness it. Petrifying Gaze. Meet the eyes of any mob facing you, turning them into stone briefly. Does not work on bosses. Yep. Husk is stuck in stone. It's a very short ability. It doesn't last that long, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. Revenge. Gorgons deals significantly increased damage at low health. I'm pretty sure that's self-explanatory. The less health when you have low health, you'll do a lot more damage than usual. Hydrophobe. Gorgons cannot tolerate the purity of water and take damage from it. Obviously, this follows suits with the origin from earlier that was meant to take damage from water, but seemingly doesn't. For some reason or another, I assume that you're also meant to take damage from any form of rain, whether that also can pop in, but obviously I clearly don't currently. To stone, Gorgons were doomed to stay bound in dark caves and old dungeons. Being outside in daylight causes them to become petrified until night, can be negated by wearing a helmet. As you can see, with the sun being down on us, we have weakness 10, mining fatigue, and slowness 10, meaning that we cannot physically move a muscle. Though, one thing you can do is jump. You can achieve a level of movement by jumping around. that is your only way of moving, mind you. If you don't jump around, you physically cannot move whatsoever, and you're kind of stuck in place until you hit nighttime, or until you relieve this problem by wearing a helmet. You wear a helmet, you get rid of this effect, and you're perfectly fine to just exist normally again. Silvered version. Gorgons are weak to the purity of silver. They cannot stand to wear it and take damage whilst wielding it. Iron is also counted as silver. Again, same thing as previous origins, except for the addition that whenever you're using any form of iron/silver based tools, you'll take damage whilst using it. Poisoned blood. Gorgons are immune to poison and have a chance to spill their toxic blood onto nearby enemies when hit, poisoning them. This is similar to the Banshee's effect that whenever you get hit, there's a small chance that they'll take a form of curse damage, but this time around it's poison, and if you know Minecraft, you know how useless this effect really is. There is only a very small subset of mobs that actively do damage to you that can be affected by poison. That is your pillagers, witches, all those people can technically be affected by poison, but it's kind of a by basis thing. Not all of them consistently can take poison damage, as well as slimes, magma slimes, and blazes. Pretty much every other mob that will hit you for damage in the world is pretty much immune to it. All undead mobs don't take poison damage. Spiders don't take poison damage. Creepers die when they deal damage to you, so it doesn't even matter in their case. And ultimately, it's an effect that you will find very useless unless you're in a multiplayer server. Then you'll see there's some potential use of it. Moon Elf. Notable changes. Dagger damage you got increased dagger damage, dexterous. You're also stealthy, but you don't sleep, and you've got less defense. Mysterious eternal beings not of this world. Moon Elves are named not for their homeland, but for the only thing their victims can see before their end. Moonlight Rogue. Moon Elves are the most efficient wielding a light and easy to conceal weapon. They deal more damage with daggers and knives. Unfortunately, normal Minecraft doesn't have any daggers or knives that you can use as any form of weapon, so this ability is kind of useless unless you throw this with a bunch of other mods. To the shadows. In the dark, Moon Elves can turn invisible by sneaking and move a short distance while stealthed. When attacking from stealth, their first attack deals bonus damage and ends the invisibility. This deals extra damage if wielding a dagger. So, we go to our perspective view here. We hold shift, we go invisible. We let go shift, we go back to normal. You also get the Warden's heartbeats, which is kind of funky. As you can see, we can move around while sneaking and we'll still stay completely invisible. But you can see a bar slowly decreasing the more that we sneak around for. And eventually, we'll start blinking whenever we move, being very visible. Of course, you can simply just let go of your sneak and let this charge back up again. Though, you do an increased amount of damage whenever you come out of sneak. I don't know why it's a panda, but that just happens to be what's around. Ethereal. Moon Elves are thin and even slightly translucent, and their skin have a peculiar blue hue. I mean, you can see it, right? I'm not crazy. You're technically more than 2 blocks tall, but that doesn't really mean anything. You can still fit in 2 block spaces like it's nobody's business. And you're skinnier than usual, as well as you got a blue haze to your character. If we go to Foreign World, try as they might, Moon Elves cannot sleep in the overworld. I mean, pretty simple. Grab bed. The strange sounds of this foreign world leaves you restless. It's as simple as that. You just can't sleep. Fortunately, though, you can still set your spawn point at any bed, so it's not exactly horrible, but phantoms may be an issue, potentially. Elegant. Moon Elves are slowed by wearing heavy armor. This can be prevented with an enchant. Any form of diamond or netherite based armor will give you a 10% speed decrease per armor piece, a full set giving you a total of 40% decreased speed. Nimble. With their quick reflexes, Moon Elves have a small chance to dodge any attack. I don't know how useful this... Oh god, I've got no health. Well, we saw it. We actually managed to dodge 2 attacks in a row there. But you would have seen the thing where I teleported briefly. And of course, we don't get any effects there. Let's try again. We have missed... We've taken that hit, we've taken that hit, we've taken that hit, and we die there. But I'm sure you saw the first 2 hits where we managed to successfully dodge it. the first 2 hits. There it is again. You can tell you've dodged a hit by hearing the teleport sound. Another thing of note there is that moon hells have reduced health as well as take increased physical damage. You would have seen that there. I was taking 1.5 hearts worth of damage from that husk, and I also only have 5 total hearts. Revenant. Notable changes, you got summons, you're illager friendly, you're undead, and it's also complex, I assume. You've got less reputation, I assume you can't trade with villagers and iron golems will hit you, and living interactions. Revenants are misfortunate souls who died gruesome and painful deaths but inexplicably returned to life. As a result, they become obsessed with manipulating life and death in other creatures. Revenants. Revenants can reconstruct creatures of the night modified to do their own bidding. They act as pets, will follow in teleports, and skeletons will be equipped with any weapon. Strength of non-mount scales with soul and blood spell power, summoned by activating while holding. A skeleton requires 4 bones in your hand. A skeleton horse requires 12 bones in your hand and a saddle in your offhand. Wither skeleton requires 12 bones in your main hand, 1 wither skull in your offhand. A zombie requires 4 flesh. A zombie horse requires 12 flesh and 1 saddle in your offhand. Flicking it to nighttime here, I can press G and we create ourselves a skeleton. Or I can press G and create ourselves a zombie. Those of which don't attack me, they're my friends. If I whack a panda, they're both going to chase and kill the... Oh, Jesus Christ, that's cruel. I just realized that. Oh well. We can also grab ourselves a wither skeleton, who's also our friend. Take a saddle, we can create skeleton horse, which we can immediately mount and move around with. Or we can again do the same, but with a zombie horse. Putrid Communion. Through the unsettling act of consuming the flesh or bones of the undead, a revenant can empower the next summon of the same type. Beside bones and rotten flesh, eating certain monster heads can charge this resource more quickly. So... God, that is a noise of all time. But we can use that to use a bar to make a stronger skeleton. You can also eat heads to increase the to increase the bar of them. Thankfully, they carry over when you die. Skeleton decided to be a bit, didn't it? Oh, okay, so those other mobs did inevitably teleport away, but the horses are still here. Reaper's Ward. At will, the Relevant can raise a circle of inert skeletons, acting as a temporary shield to protect them from danger and damage from nearby enemies. With our wide button, we can get a circle of skeletons. These are my spooky, scary skeletons. They're very loud. Oh, there they go. Essence Extraction. When hit, Revenants slowly build up a power which allows them to siphon life from their enemies. This affects all creatures for better or worse except summoned dead. Oh. Okay, so whenever you can hit undead things to reclaim health. That is intriguing. Necrotic Curse. Revenants are immune to Wither, and like undead, they take extra damage from Smite, receive inverted effects from harming and healing effects, and immune to poison and regeneration effects. You're immune from poison and regeneration, as well as the Wither damage. You take extra damage from Smite, and you'll heal from harming and get hurt by healing. Chaotic Ally. Villagers will refuse to trade with Revenants, and Iron Golems will attack on sight. However, they are accepted amongst the ranks of pillagers. You see our Ravager friend here? He likes us. He doesn't want to hurt us. He looks at us willingly. But if you hit him, he is not afraid to hit back. Because he's a crazy, crazy boy. Like Thumb, Revenant cannot harvest any crops. They will wilt at their deathly touch. Self-explanatory, crops are useless to you. Disturbed. Experimenting in the forbidden warps of the mind, Revenants cannot sleep. Too scared to dream of what they wish they did not know. Let's see what message we get this time. What you know will kill you, but you will die laughing. Fortunately, you can still set spawns with this, you just cannot sleep, which is intriguing. Unguarded. Obsessing over the spirit realm leaves Revenants more open to attack in the physical realm. Most mobs deal more damage to them. Again, self-explanatory, you take more damage whenever you're hit. Ogre, notable changes. You got axe bonuses and you also got defense bonuses. You're massive, but you have less hunger or increased hunger usage and less speed. Ogres are large, short-tempered, and brutish subspecies of orcs. Their lumbering size and limited intelligence are made up for by their raw strength. Gargantuan. Ogres are massive and can't fit through doors or even in many small structures. This is the first and probably only one out of the subset of origins that come with this pack that doesn't allow you to walk into any space that is 2 blocks high. Really, you just are restricted to spaces that are 3 blocks high or taller. That's really all there is to that. Bloodlust. Ogres are known to unpredictably fly into a blinding rage where they can stomp through hordes of foes quickly but can barely make out what's happening around them. Basically, whenever you use your main ability here, you'll just get haste and speed for a very short period of time. Let's wait for it to recharge. When you use the ability, you'll gain speed 3 and haste for about 5 seconds, allowing you to quickly get out of whatever situation you're currently in and other things on those lines. Ravager. Axe feel right in an ogre's hand. This comfort allows him to swing with much more force. We roll here, we got Neverite Axe. We deal 25% extra attacks damage with an axe because of our Ravager ability, which is massive if you think about it. Considering this does 10 attack damage on the usual, the increased amount of damage, which I'm pretty sure a crit hit, if I can land it, yeah, we'll just one-shot a husk. That is 20 damage at the bare minimum with an axe. Lead belly. Ogres care little for what they eat. Food is food. They do not experience hunger or poison. This just means that you can eat all forms of food. Poisonous potatoes and pufferfish, be damned, they don't affect you in the way that you'd expect. Stocky. Ogres' thick skin and dense bones make them be able to take many more hits than others. You have an additional 5 hearts or additional 10 hit points, giving you 30 hit points total or 15 hearts in total. Ravenous. Ogres are almost never full. They need to eat near consistently to stay satisfied. Your hunger decreases at a faster rate than usual, but I don't know if it's anything to really care too much about. It just means that you need to be more wary whenever you're moving around. Granted, you're also significantly slower, which I'm pretty sure is the last ability. Yes, sluggish. Ogres are slower than most to conserve some of their energy despite their massive size. Yeah. So the thing that's probably going to affect you most is the fact that you're just so much slower even when sprinting, rather than the amount of hunger you'll lose just in general. And Plague Victim. Notable changes: your plus is withering. You go unique playstyle, you're undead, you've got less defense and bad reputation, and it's also difficult. Disease-ridden, half-dead creatures who can no longer be called human, cursed and trapped in eternal suffering as a result of a strange magical illness. Foul Aura. A horrifying magic swarms the victim and slowly consumes the life of any living nearby. We're just gonna move near the villager. As you can see, the villager, it is taking some random damage every now and then by just being near me. Plague immunity. Though the immense pain never ends, there is only so much tissue that can die. Carriers are immune to the poison and wither. As self-explanatory, you're immune to both poison and wither-based damage. It's nothing to really care too much about. Yep. And you see, with one of those hits, he's now got wither-based damage. And rather than before, where it was only a very quick interval of damage, he takes it for quite a handful of seconds as he walked away from me. Contagious. The plagued are a horrifying sight. Villagers refuse to trade with them out of fear. I mean, self-explanatory. Insomniac. Sleep is impossible for the plague due to their unending agony. Again, you can't sleep. Your welt stings and burn. There will be no sleep for you tonight. If you grab a bed and relocate it... Wait. Can I not set a spawn here? This origin cannot seem to set a respawn point for bed. That's interesting. Sensitive skin. The plague is covered in welts and lesions upon the skin. Tender and painful to touch. Its victims cannot wear armor for the pain that it causes. If we well over here, we can see that whilst you can see the armor, you cannot right-click to actually wear the armor in any functional way. So unlike with other armor where it gives you other origins where it gives you a tidbit that is unwearable, you can technically, it's not here, but you can't wear it anyway, so it doesn't matter much. Skin and bones. This illness drains the spirit, resulting in reduced health and speed. As you can see, we've got a total of 8 hearts instead of the usual 10, so 16 total hit points, and we're also a notably bit slower. It's not massively slower, like other slowness debuffs and stuff on those lines, but it is something that you'll keep in mind. Internal suffering. Once every 5 minutes upon death, the plagued are instead forcibly kept alive to prolong their torment. So instead of dying whenever you should, you will just revive back to full health like nothing ever happened. This, of course, has a long cooldown of 5 minutes. This is an interesting, quirky thing. It means that you don't die as often to the usual things you expect to, but also, when you want to die, you'll have to die a second time to actually die. And that is Medieval Origins Revival. Not as broken as the previous one, there is still some weird quirks. This is the version for 1.20.1, so that might explain some of the quirkiness. The newer version 1.21 might be less broken. Really, the only problems was just the fact that Hydrophobic wasn't working as intended. You don't take damage from water for the pair of origins that actually care about that type of thing. But ultimately it doesn't particularly matter too much. Everything else still worked as mostly intended. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like down below. Maybe subscribe. It's been a while. I've been sitting at just over 50k since like November in 2022. It's been that long, which is kind of crazy to think about. We're slowly closing in on 60k. I don't know when or if we'll ever actually make it, but hey, I'll see ya next time.